Every October, the same faces rise from the shadows. Ghosts, witches, vampires, werewolves, and demons. They stare at us from windows, parade through the streets, and smile from every mask and pumpkin. But these aren't just decorations. They are echoes. The ghosts of older fears, born from the things humanity never stopped being afraid of. Tonight, we trace their origins through centuries of belief, persecution, and imagination to uncover how the creatures of Halloween came to life. The jack-o'-lantern, the trickster's flame. The story begins with an Irishman named Stingy Jack. One cold autumn night, they say Jack met the devil himself in a lonely tavern at the edge of town. The devil had come to claim his soul, but Jack, clever as ever, asked for one last drink. The devil agreed, and when the glass was empty, Jack convinced him to pay the tab by turning into a silver coin. Jack snatched the coin and shoved it into his pocket, where he kept a small cross. Trapped by holy metal, the devil could not change back. Jack bargained for his freedom, and in exchange, made the devil promise never to take his soul to hell. The devil, amused, gave him a single ember from the flames to light his way through eternal darkness. Jack placed the coal inside a carved turnip, and so became Jack of the Lantern. Ghosts and skeletons, spirit and bone. Long before the word Halloween was ever spoken, the ancient Celts marked Samhain, the night summer died and winter began. It was a time of transition, when the boundaries between life and death blurred. The Celts believed that on this night, spirits crossed freely among the living. Bonfires blazed to keep the dead at bay, and people wore masks, not for fun, but to trick wandering souls into mistaking them for one of their own. Ghosts were the first true creatures of Halloween, not monsters, but mourners. They represented loss, memory, and the ache of unfinished stories. Centuries later, as Christianity spread across Europe, the church transformed Samhain into All Hallows' Eve, a night to honor saints and pray for lost souls. But the old beliefs never vanished. They simply changed their names. Then came the skeletons, a new face for death in an age of plague. The Danse Macabre, or Dance of Death, appeared on church walls across medieval Europe, showing skeletons leading kings and peasants alike to their graves. No one, it seemed, could escape their dance. Ghosts were the invisible side of death, emotional, spiritual. Skeletons were its physical proof. Together, they formed the language of mortality. By the Victorian era, ghosts found new life through séances and spiritualism, while skeletons became more playful, smiling from Halloween postcards. Death had become familiar and almost friendly. Two sides of the same coin, spirit and bone, reminding us that all endings still have echoes. Witches and their familiars. Before she was feared, the witch was revered. In pre-Christian Europe, she was a wise woman, a healer, midwife, herbalist. Her rituals followed the seasons and the moon. She was a link to nature itself. But as Christianity spread, the church sought to root out old pagan practices. The healer became the heretic. For as long as stories have been told, the witch has been the most feared woman on earth. Part human, part spirit, walking freely between worlds. In the dark corners of medieval Europe, people spoke of women who could summon storms, spoil crops, or steal a man's breath while he slept. They gathered under the new moon, it was said, to whisper the devil's language and seal pacts in blood. Those who crossed them vanished, cows dried up, children fell ill, and shadows passed over the moon. Their familiars were never far, black cats whose eyes burned like candles in the dark, rats that crept through walls carrying whispered curses, and crows perched on rooftops, watching, listening, waiting for a command that never came in human words. In old village lore, these creatures weren't pets. They were the witch's soul divided, pieces of her spirit that could slip through keyholes, spy on neighbors, or suck the life from the weak. And when night came and the broom rose from the hearth, it wasn't to clean, it was to fly. Witches were said to anoint themselves with potions made of deadly herbs, henbane, datura, nightshade, and soar through the night sky to hidden gatherings. Bonfires burned on lonely hills, and shapes danced around them, chanting old words that made the air shiver. To some, it was madness. To others, power. And perhaps that's why the fear never faded. Even centuries later, you can still find their signs. The black feather on a doorstep, a toad staring at your window, a chill in the air when the clock strikes 3. The witch doesn't knock on your door. She's already inside, whispering in the wind, waiting for you to listen. Werewolves, the beast within. In every culture that feared the wilderness, there were stories of men who became wolves. In ancient Greece, the myth of Lycaon told of a king punished by Zeus for serving human flesh, transformed into a wolf as divine retribution. The word lycanthropy still carries his name. During the Middle Ages, Europe's deep forests were places of both wonder and terror. When livestock vanished or children went missing, it was said that a werewolf had struck, a cursed soul who fed under the full moon. The church used werewolf legends to teach morality, to warn that sin and savagery were just one choice away. The 16th and 17th centuries even saw real werewolf trials, particularly in France and Germany, where outcasts or criminals were accused of shape-shifting into beasts. Then came Hollywood. In 1941, the Wolfman gave the legend its tragic core, a man bitten by another, doomed to transform, his humanity slipping away with each moonrise. Later versions turned the curse into metaphor, rage, addiction, repression. In every age, the werewolf reflected what society feared about losing control. The werewolf doesn't hunt us, he is us, when the moon exposes what we try to hide. They say there are things that walk at night that look like men, until they smile. The vampire has stalked our stories since before history had a name. In the dark forests of Eastern Europe, villagers spoke of the Upir and the Strigoi, corpses that refused to stay buried. They rose from their graves, pale and swollen, their lips dark with blood. When livestock were found dead, when children grew pale and weak, it was said the dead were feeding again. Graves were dug up. Bodies were found untouched by decay, their nails long, their mouths red. The villagers would drive stakes through their hearts and burn them in the fields. But sometimes when the fire died, a whisper would pass through the ashes, soft and hungry. In the old tales, they were monsters, diseased, bloated, reeking of the grave. But over time, something changed. Death learned to wear a velvet coat. The vampire became charming, a shadow that smiled before it killed. In the 19th century, he gained a name: Dracula. Born from old fears and new temptations, he crossed oceans of ink and blood to reach us. In his castle, the lamps never burned. He lit his halls with the glow of the living. He did not kill for hunger alone, but for pleasure and for company. When film arrived, he stepped into the light for the first time. And even there, he did not burn. Audiences watched him glide through candlelit halls, his eyes like polished obsidian. And when he opened his mouth, every viewer forgot to breathe. Bats followed him through the centuries, winged shadows that slithered through church rafters and midnight skies. They became his messengers, his form, his omen. When you see a bat dive from the moon, you might tell yourself it's just an animal. But deep down, something older stirs and whispers, no, it's him. The vampire has taken many faces, the aristocrat, the stranger, the lover, the beast. But in every form he carries the same hunger, not for blood alone, but for the warmth he lost when death forgot to claim him. The vampire doesn't seek to destroy life. He seeks to borrow it, one heartbeat at a time. Some things die. Some things are allowed to die, and some things refuse. The oldest warning comes from the desert. When 19th century explorers broke open royal tombs in Egypt, they didn't just take gold, they took bodies. Bodies wrapped in linen, perfumed in resin, sealed for eternity, surrounded by carved prayers begging the living, do not disturb. They laughed at the curses, and then they began to die. Strange infections, sudden fevers, accidents that felt less like accidents. Newspapers called it the mummy's curse. But the whisper behind it was older than newspapers. It said this: some graves are locked from the inside. The mummy became one of Halloween's oldest undead figures, not a mindless monster, but a royal soul awakened, angry, coming back for what was stolen. And then, in the 1800s, death changed again. In a storm-lit room, in Mary Shelley's imagination, a new kind of undead opened its eyes. People like to call him a monster, but Frankenstein's creature wasn't born evil. He was made, stitched together from the dead, dragged back into the world by lightning and human arrogance. He wasn't cursed by ancient gods. He was cursed by his creator. He walks through the night like a question. If you bring something back from the other side, what responsibility do you owe it? The horror in Frankenstein isn't that he lives. It's that he lives alone. Later, another kind of undead crawled onto the stage. In Haitian voodoo, there are stories of bodies raised from the grave to work in silence, without will, without rest. A zombie was not hungry. A zombie was enslaved. When that rumor reached America, it mutated. By the time Hollywood was finished, the zombie had become something else, a swarm, a plague, a world devouring itself. And that's the thread all these stories share. The mummy, ripped out of eternal sleep. The created man, abandoned by the one who made him. The zombie, denied even the freedom of death. None of them asked to come back. We brought them. And now they're part of Halloween forever. Demons and the devil, the shape of evil. Long before Halloween, people believed in unseen forces, spirits that whispered temptation, sickness, madness. When religions collided, those spirits were named demons. As Christianity spread, old gods, Pan, Baal, Loki, were recast as devils and fallen angels. The devil himself, became the ultimate trickster, the dark mirror of humanity's pride. During the Middle Ages, stories of possession and exorcism swept through Europe. The devil wasn't distant, he was intimate, slipping into ordinary lives. By the 20th century, cinema resurrected this fear. The Exorcist, 1973, reminded modern audiences that faith could still be shaken by fear. Demons evolve with us. Some figures transcend religion and reason, symbols so old they belong to no one. The Grim Reaper, born in the 14th century, during the Black Death, the Reaper was humanity's way of giving death a form, a cloaked skeleton carrying a scythe. He is not a villain, but a constant, neither cruel nor kind, simply inevitable. He doesn't chase us, he waits. The Headless Horseman, from Europe's ghost tales to Washington Irving's Sleepy Hollow, 1820. The horseman rides without a head, seeking revenge. A soldier cut down in war, condemned to roam, his pumpkin lantern glowing where his head once was. America's first great Halloween ghost. He rides not for victory, but for what was lost. From Samhain's sacred fires, to the grim art of medieval Europe, to the silver screens of the 20th century, every age remade its monsters in its own image. The ancients feared spirits. The medieval world feared witches and death. The Victorians feared science and sin. And today, we fear each other. Halloween became a night where we laugh at fear to prove it can't own us. Every creature, every mask, every scream is just another way to tell the same story. That fear never dies. It just changes shape. Thank you for joining us tonight. See you next Halloween.